Welcome to ClassEcs, a show where a guy with a literature degree recaps from memory books he's never read. I'm your host, my name is Ethan Hunter, and today we're talking about Lolita. Lolita was written around the turn of the century by Frederick Geoffrey Nabokov III, and it's about a school teacher named Kenny Labatt who falls in love with his 12-year-old student, Lolita. So anyway, in the beginning of the book, something has happened to Kenny. He owes money to the mob over the theft of some elephant self-portraits or something, and so he has to move to a small town in New England, I guess as punishment. And he ends up moving in with Lolita and her mom for some reason. And he falls in love with Lolita despite the fact that she's 12 and that's super gross. Or maybe because she's 12 and that's super gross because he's a pederast. So Kenny loves Lolita, whom he calls Lola, which was the inspiration for the song Lola by the Kinks. Yep. But while Kenny is in love with Lolita, Lolita's mom, Debbie, has fallen in love with Kenny. Because nothing is sexier than a pederast. And one day, while Lolita is at the circus or something, Debbie goes to Kenny and she says, "You have to either marry me or move out." And Kenny, who doesn't give a single shit about Debbie, is like, "Sounds good," just so he can keep being close to Lolita, which is still super creepy, by the way. It hasn't gotten less creepy. It's like a flat line of creepy. Actually, the creepy goes up, you'll see. But at some point, Debbie finds Kenny's diary where he explicitly states that he wants to bone a 12-year-old, and she freaks out, which is the proper response. And by the way, if you're watching this and you happen to be a pederast, feel free to take a lesson from this part of the novel and write down all your super creepy thoughts about wanting to have sex with children in a book and leave that book in a place people can easily find it. Or just go ahead and Facebook it or tweet it at the police or something. That'd be good. So Debbie freaks out, but instead of calling the cops or castrating him with a butter knife, or both, preferably both, she decides for some reason to go for a jog or something and gets hit by a car. So Kenny is like, "Result," and goes to collect Lolita from the dentist or wherever she was. And so he picks her up and he's like, "So, Lolita, I guess your mom's got the bird flu or whatever. I wouldn't worry about it. Let's go on a road trip." And so they do. So they go to a hotel and Kenny drugs Lolita with children's Tylenol or something. And he's like, "When those Tylenol kick in, I'm gonna go ahead and molest you, but until then, I'm gonna go get a drink at the bar." And Lolita's like, "Sounds good, bro." And with that, Kenny's off. And while he's gone, he plays mini golf with Churchill or something. And when he gets back, he discovers that children's Tylenol is a shitty roofie. And Lolita's not out at all. And he's like, "Well, damn it. I guess I'm not gonna get to molest a 12-year-old tonight." But twist, Lolita's like, "Don't even worry about it. I'll do you while I'm awake, because while I was at summer camp, I learned to do the sexes, and even though I'm 12 and it's gross, let's get it on." So Kenny is like, "Result." So Lolita initiates the sex, I guess, and at some point after that, Kenny's like, "Oh, by the way, your mom's dead. Sucks to be you." And Lolita's like, "Screw it, road trip." And so they do. They road trip some more. So they travel around for a while, and I guess at some point Lolita decides she wants to do a school play? That's ridiculous, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, she decides she wants to do a school play, and Kenny is like, "Alright, you can do the school play, but you gotta do more sexes with me, even though you're 12, and it's still really gross." Yeah, told you. And Lolita's like, "Cool, fair enough." So she goes off to do the school play, and I guess she's actually a pretty good actress. But the night before the school play, Lolita and Kenny get into a huge argument about Pepsi versus Coke, or Sammy Hagar versus David Lee Roth or something, and Lolita splits, which frankly she should have done long before all the sexes, but I guess it would have been a really different book if she had done that. Different isn't always bad. So Lolita's gone for a couple of days, but then Kenny finds her and she's like, "Dude, I was just about to call you, and what's going on?" And anyway, screw the play, road trip. And so they do. They friggin' road trip some more. But at some point on this road trip, Lolita's like, "Oh, my tummy, I don't feel so good. I think I need to go to hospital." And Kenny's like, "Fair enough. you go to the hospital, I'll hang out at this hotel because apparently I have unlimited hotel money for some reason. But then one day, Kenny goes to visit Lolita at the hospital, and the nurses are like, oh, she checked out with her uncle, because I guess that's a thing that's okay to do in the 1800s or whatever. And then Kenny basically says, well, screw it, I'm gonna date an adult for a while. And so he does. And that's a lucky lady that landed pederast Kenny, by the way. I think her name was Carl. So some time passes, and Kenny gets a letter from a now 17-year-old Lolita, who I guess looked him up on LinkedIn or something. And she's like, hey man, long time, no creepy, super wrong, illegal sex. How's it going? So anyway, I'm married now, and I'm pregnant, and can I have some cash? And so he gives it to her. But in exchange for the money, he wants to know who abducted her. And she tells him that it was the dude that wrote the school play, those many years ago. Twist! Again! She tells him they were in love, and he followed them on the travels for a while, looking for the perfect opportunity to, never. But then he wanted her to act in his porn movies, because her life wasn't sad enough, and when she refused, he kicked her out. Just gone. Bye, Lolita. No porn, no stay. Now she's married to some other guy who's got nothing to do with any of this, and Kenny's like, fair enough, here's a crap load of money, because apparently I have unlimited cash for some reason, and thanks for all the sexes. And she's like, rock and roll, you're welcome for all the sexes. And then Kenny goes and kills the playwright, because why not at this point, right? And it ends with everybody dying on Christmas, because Merry Christmas, this book is sad. Seriously, even the baby died. They killed the damn baby. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go drink now. Feel free to leave your needlessly hateful comments in the section below. And if there's a book you'd like me to recap for you, if I haven't read it, probably do it. See you next time.